This episode is brought to you by the world's first reposado from Tequila Herradura, made with slow-cooked, hand-harvested agave sealed into oak barrels and aged 11 months before being enjoyed in your glass. Experience the world's first reposado, Tequila Herradura. Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Tequila Herradura. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Brown-Forman, Louisville, Kentucky. Herradura is a registered trademark. Copyright 2025 Brown-Forman Corporation.
Frank here, inviting you guys to join the official Fun for All Ages Patreon page. Why? Well, studio time isn't free, podcast hosting costs money, and you're not just supporting your new favorite podcast, you're helping to preserve Western civilization. Probably. We'll start with one single tier, just $5 monthly, so for the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you can keep a struggling host off the streets and in the studio where, let's face it, I belong. Think of it as joining the fan club you always wanted to join as a kid, but instead of a decoder ring, you're getting a logo sticker and a personalized note from me, an on-air thank you by name, and the opportunity to submit a question for our illustrious guest or panel. And you'll also get the warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing you're keeping the laughs and the content coming. And hey, if you enjoy the content but you don't want to support it, listen, that's fine too. I'll just be over here creating in the dark, alone with nothing but ambition and crippling debt. So join us, support the show on Patreon, and remember, if laughter is the best medicine, then this podcast is a walk-in clinic with a low $5 copay.
Palisades has the rides, Palisades has the fun. Come on over. Shows and dancing are free, so's the parking, so gee. Come on over. Palisades from coast to coast, where a dime buys the most. Palisades Amusement Park swings all day and after dark. Ride the coaster, get cool in the waves, in the pool, you'll have fun. So come on over.
Hi, it's Frank Santopadre, and you are listening to Fun for All Ages, the podcast for pop culture obsessives like me, like you, and like the two gentlemen we're joined by this week. And we're coming to you from City Vox Studios in New York City, where it's a brisk and bracing 117 degrees. You guys seen the Twilight Zone movie? The Twilight Zone episode with Lois Nettleton? You know that one, the Midnight Sun, where the Earth is hurtling toward the sun? That's what New York is like today.
Yikes! Oh man! I shouldn't tell you how beautiful it is in LA right now.
Don't rub it in, Robert.
Yeah.
Our obsession this week, or shall I say, my obsession, is timely, as I said, since we're recording this just a few days after the start of summer. Lost and forgotten amusement parks, which is something I've been fascinated by for years, but despite my usual weeks and weeks of research, it's still a relatively new area for me. So here to better educate me are two multi-talented experts and new friends, and two guys who may be even more obsessive than I am, if that's possible. Dave Cobb has spent 3 decades designing immersive stories for theme parks, rides, attractions, resorts, cruise ships, museums, live shows, and events with diverse clients including Cirque du Soleil, Sony, Paramount Studios, and even the San Diego Zoo. Among his creations are the interactive and groundbreaking Men in Black dark ride at Universal Studios Florida, numerous thrill attractions for Paramount Parks across North America at Kings Island, Kings Dominion, California's Great Adventure, and Canada's Wonderland. He was also the primary park-wide creative director of the award-winning project Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi, which he's going to tell us about, which according to the Guinness Book of World Records is the largest indoor theme park in the world. And Robert Coker is a theme park enthusiast and senior show writer for the themed entertainment design company Super 78 Studios. He's designed guest experiences and developed scripts for the flying theater attractions Alpha Flight and Wings Over Washington, as well as the SpongeBob Subpants Adventure. I'm going to need to know about that one, too. An interactive 4D attraction for Moody Gardens in Texas, and the Forbidden Caves, a 3D media-based immersion tunnel attraction at Belgium's Bobbejaanland. Did I get that?
Pretty close. Bobbejaanland.
Bobbejaanland.
Yeah, there you go.
Theme park. Recently, he helped develop multiple attractions for the Mattel Adventure Park, now under construction in Glendale, Arizona. His lifelong passion for amusement parks and roller coasters led to the creation of his best-selling book, Roller Coasters, A Thrill Seeker's Guide to the Ultimate Scream Machines. And Robert is also the co-host of the theme park podcast Season Pass and the creator of the website thrillride.com.
Thank
Gentlemen,
you so much.
as I used to say on the old show, at least some of those things must be true.
And by the way, I have to say really quickly, one of the best episodes of the Season Pass is a two-parter that is as in-depth an analysis of a ride and attraction creation for Men in Black. And if you have any interest in themed entertainment, I urge you to listen to it. It's like a college level seminar on how to build a theme park ride. It's fantastic. And I wasn't on that interview. So
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was early on. It was one of the first podcasts I ever did, actually. That was a lot of fun.
Is that your crowning achievement, Dave, that so far in your career, the Men in Black?
I think pretty much that.
It's hard to top that. It's pretty incredible.
Well, we'll plug at the end of the show too your wonderful
cool.
your wonderful that ride as well as your wonderful podcast, Robert. But I think our listeners would be interested to know how someone finds themselves in such an exotic, fascinating line of work in the first place. Because you guys, I did a lot of research. We talked on the phone. There was a little pre-interview portion of this, and we talked, and I got to know you guys just a little bit. But I'm just fascinated that you guys have made a career out of this. Both of you, wonderful careers. So I'm just going to start with you, Dave. I know you're a native Los Angelino. I know you went to film school, but how did you wind up designing rides and attractions?
Well, I started out as during high school and college. My summer job and weekend and day job was as a tour guide at Universal Studios here for sitting on the trams and going through the back lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for a long time and was in film school at the same time. And a couple of big things happened while I was in film school. One or two of the first big writer strikes happened. And then also I wanted to go specifically into special effects and cinematography and models and miniatures and that kind of thing. And two movies came out while I was in college, Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park, which were all CG. And a bunch of the companies that I was trying to intern with at the time as a college student here in LA that were model shops and physical effects were all closing, or they were looking for, computer science kids, and that just wasn't me. So I took some time off and went back to the tour full time and saw a job posting on the studio lot for something called Universal Planning and Development. And I did a little digging and found out it was like Universal's version of Disney Imagineering, basically. And there was a project coordinator position, which I had done for productions before. I said, let's see what this is. And I got it. And it was an entry-level job building a new theme park attraction. It was for the Back to the Future ride at Universal Studios Hollywood. And I was just an office PA, basically. But by doing that, it was like this masterclass in how something goes from nothing on paper to opening day. And I said, wow, I didn't know this was an industry. I didn't know it needed people like me, which my main skill set was writing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think these things had writers, but they do, just like a film or a TV show or a Broadway show needs a writer. And so I kind of stuck to it. And 30 years later, I've been doing it ever since.
Good for you. And I want to ask you about pitching to Spielberg later too. Now that you're mentioning, now that you're bringing up Back to the Future, Robert, same question for you. How did the journey land you here?
Well, it's interesting, and I know Dave will agree to this. Like today, there are now college-level programs for themed entertainment. So kids who want to get into this industry, they have a really clear path. But back in the day, the industry was inventing itself. So nobody knew exactly how to get in. And, I went to Disneyland for the first time when I was 4.5, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of this. Like, that's it. But very long story short, I ended up getting a BFA in graphic communications in college. And, by the mid 80s, when I was out of college, the theme park industry had kind of matured. They weren't building a lot of new parks. So I just went into design, and I worked at a little marketing agency, an advertising agency in New York, a couple of packaging firms, and in the meantime was doing writing. My mother was a screenwriter. and a producer of television. She was actually a producer on the Tomorrow Show, the old Tom Snyder late night talk show.
Yes, I believe I pulled some names out of the air for you on our phone call.
Exactly. And so, I was always interested in screenwriting because I'd read her scripts. I'd read some of the scripts she brought home from the Writers Guild. Anyway, so I did a lot of writing on my own, but was still working in this kind of design world. And then I moved back from New York to Los Angeles in 2006 and got connected with Doug Barnes, the creator of the Season Pass podcast, and Brent Young, one of the founders and owners of Super 78 Studios, was the other co-host at the time. So we connected there, and the three of us clicked immediately. We all became very good friends. And a couple of years after we started doing this regularly, Brent sort of said, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Love to work for you someday." And he started giving me little freelance writing assignments. And then by, late 2013, he was like, "Quit your job. We'll figure it out. We'll just make some work for you."
What a great thing to hear.
Yeah. And believe me, I was very happy to move out of that current job, or what it was then. And so it's coming up on 12 years. And
good for you. Good for both of you guys. It's interesting, the indirect path that careers take. And
it really is. And again, themed entertainment is filled with these stories.
Yeah. If you asked 20 different people in this industry how they got into it, you're going to get 20 different answers. It's so inherently deeply multidisciplinary that people can kind of move up into multiple paths within it from kind of any industry you can name.
So writing, so designing, so engineering. Yeah.
Right.
This is fascinating. Yeah. This is fascinating to me. I didn't know, and I should have known. It never occurred to me that theme parks had writers. Or attractions. But now that I think about it, you go to see the Indiana Jones show and it's scripted.
Yeah. And even just a dark ride is going to have narrative beats. It's got to have narrative flow. It's got to have a beginning, middle, and end. It's got to have some form of act structure. It's got to have dialogue or narration. It's got to have somebody direct that dialogue. It's got to have somebody direct the music. It's got to have somebody work with the art directors and lighting people the same way that a director on a film set would work with set designers and costume makers and lighting people and gaffers. Like it's very similar to being a writer-director on any kind of other creative industry.
Mm-hmm. Just like a little mini Broadway show that has to go up 60 times a day.
Yeah, right.
Hey guys, we like to extend our gratitude on this show, particularly for the people who are generous enough to support the show on Patreon. So we like to give each and every Patreon member a shout out and a chance to hear their own names on the show and be a part of the show. So here's the third version of it. We've done the first two, and we're going to keep plowing through these. Peter Bellini. We know Peter. We love Peter. Thank you. Lisa Medley. Thank you, Lisa. Cladwright Radio, also known as our friend Brett Leverage. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Eric Foreman. Thank you, Laura Pinto. There's a great name from the past. Thank you, Laura. Chris Eilinger. Chris Eilinger? Nope, I think it's Chris Ellinger. Yes, Chris, forgive me for that. Craig Kaler. Randy Bucknoff. Love you, Randy. Mike Erickson, Jeff Markin, Joseph from Poughkeepsie, Ira Flauco. That's a hard one to say. I sound like Will Ferrell and Elf. Francisco, that's fun to say. Jeff Van Landingham, Lou Saliba. Yes, I correspond with all of these people on Facebook regularly. Love them all. Sean Gallagher, Bill Rebel. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sean. Joey, here's a good one. Chiaro Lanza. That's one of my people. Stacy Rose, thank you, Stacy. Love hearing from you on socials. Jer Moran, Greg Castañas, one of those. Bess Fanning, thank you, Bess. Timothy O'Reilly, we know you. Ron Basler, John Cristelli, or John Christel, or John. Keith Olson, my buddy Keith Olson. Phil Ippolito, and Andy Schall. That's 2 pages. I don't know how many people that was, 20-something. But we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep giving shout-outs like I'm Miss Francis of Ding Dong School. There's a reference. And you all get to hear your name on the show every week. And we are so grateful for your support and your love. And it keeps the lights on and keeps the content coming. So thank you. More next week.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This summer, try the new Strato Frappuccino blended beverage at Starbucks. It's the classic blended iced coffee you know and love, now topped with a creamy layer of handcrafted brown sugar cold foam. Available for a limited time. Your Strato Frappuccino is ready at Starbucks.
Tell me, because I'm going to lose track of this, I wrote it down, the Spielberg story that I heard you tell. Was it the Back to the Future ride?
No. So that was years later.
Okay.
One of my first big breaks as a creative director, not just an entry-level, a PA or a show writer, which is what I did for a little while bounced around to different companies. I got my first big break at Universal to be a creative director on Men in Black Alien Attack, which was a huge interactive dark ride they were putting in at Universal Orlando. How I got that is a whole other story about how the industry at the time was really, really busy because there were like 6 theme parks around the world being built, and somebody I had not only worked with but a personal relationship, a friend of mine, Phil Hedema, who's a big guy in the industry now and always has been. I sang with him in the Gay Men's Chorus of LA. And so I did this sort of other creative thing with him this other creative outlet. And he just said, we need to have lunch. And he sort of said, I have this project and there's creative directors are few and far between in our industry right now because everything's so busy. Would you like this gig? And so he said, I think it's time for you to not just be a writer and be a creative director. So that's how that happened. It was really happenstance, and it's the way this industry works. It's very boom and bust. And so it was a boom at that time, and I got that chance. In doing an attraction for Universal, Steven Spielberg I think they still call him the sort of executive creative director or executive creative consultant for all of the Universal theme parks. And what that means is they get to use him as a figurehead. And every major project that they do goes through a point where you pitch it to Spielberg. And so I was 28, I think, 29. And we have a concept. I've got a bunch of maquettes of little aliens. I've got a track plan. I've got a vehicle design. I've got a story. I've got a sizzle reel. And it gets to a point where senior management at Universal goes, all right, it's time. We show it to Spielberg. And so Phil, my boss, Phil Hedema at the time, says, all right, so here's how it's going to go because you're going to be on your own. I'm not going with you. That was the first thing I found.
Scary.
What? Yeah, and it's at Amblin, by the way, on the Universal lot in Hollywood. Like my, teenage cinematic dreams are in this building. And so he said, you're going to have like a half an hour. You give him the pitch, and I had the pitch down to like 15, 20 minutes. And he's like, after that, Steven's going to rattle off a million ideas. You write them all down. You say yes and to every single one. You write them all down. You bring that list back to me. You and I go over it. I decide which ones we can do because he's going to give you a lot of ideas that are $3, $4, $5 million plus. And he gets to whittle that list down to the top 3 things that he's going to offer back to Steven. Hey, thanks for the feedback. Here's what you're going to do. So he says, we do this on everything. Steven's great. You're going to love him, but you're going to have like half an hour. And so I go, and his assistant was like military about it. Like, you literally have 30 minutes. We're going to cut it off. I said, okay, I got it down. Don't worry. So I sit down, and he walks in the room, and he's super magnetic and super engaged. And the thing I first felt with him walking in, and this is super validating as a 29-year-old creative, I was not some peon. Like, if you have something to show to him creatively, you are a brethren in the creative world, and you are there for his time, and he's there for yours. More importantly, it was so incredible, and so I did my thing. We get to 29 minutes, and the assistant comes in, and Spielberg waves them off, and it goes to 90, and it goes to almost 2 hours.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And he goes to 60 and 90, almost 2 hours. And because he's so enthusiastic about the project, and it's not a movie he directed, but he was one of the producers on the movie. And so he had a lot of great ideas, and a lot of the ideas that were going to be $20 and $30 million and that we just could never do. But it was one of the, I left that meeting on such a high, and went back home and just sort of cried my eyes out in happy tears of like, I can't believe I just did that, and I can die happy now. I pitched to Spielberg and he liked it. Like, not many people get to say that.
Do I have this right? He asked for himself to be a character and a cameo on a park bench.
He did. So there was a one of the gags. So we've sketched a million gags like you would do for, for Looney Tunes or any cartoon where you sketch a bunch of gag story ideas, right? Same kind of artists, storyboard level of all the aliens hiding in New York and how are they hiding? And they got to be funny because Men in Black is that fine line between funny and scary. And so we had these 3 aliens on a park bench hiding behind a newspaper. And then, like, the newspaper would drop, and so you'd see a head with a baseball cap, and the newspaper would drop, and it was a guy, and the alien's holding a fake head on a stick, right? And Spielberg instantly zoned in on that when he's like, make that one me. And we were like, okay, great. Awesome. So if you go through the ride, he's wearing like a Jurassic Park cap, I think.
Yeah, perfect.
And yeah. So it was stuff like that. And he responded to all the alien gags and gave sort of, what if you did this? What if you did that? Could the ride do this? And it was, it's rare that you get that. I mean, I can't say I earned that right to pitch to him. It was just part of the gig. You know what I mean? At 29. And so I'm so grateful that happened because it felt like I was part of the process, not just some guy that he was talking to.
And always reassuring to meet your heroes and have it work out.
Oh, yeah. He was great. He was awesome.
Yeah, I know you're a good pitcher. Robert, are you a good pitcher as well?
It's funny. I kind of earned a rep pretty early on of being a pretty good pitcher. The first night of working there, it was a Sunday night at 9 p.m. and we had to talk to a China client. And they just sort of threw a bunch of storyboards in front of me and said, here, pitch it. And I sweated more than Nixon, but I got through it. And they were all like, oh, that was great. That was great. So from that point on, I became sort of the lead pitcher. And, it gets easier, but it's not like writers, for me anyway, that is not something we want to do. We want to write it and just throw it in front of, here, read it, just go away. But it's part of this, it's part of the skill set in themed, like in movies, like in themed entertainment. You got to learn how to pitch.
Yeah, I will come back to asking questions about your individual processes, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it's the thing that I'm most excited about here is talking about the world of Sid and Marty Krofft. Since we're calling this Lost and Abandoned Theme Parks, and you had Marty on the podcast, Robert?
We did way back in the day. It was one of the first podcasts that I participated in with the season pass. And, as a kid I'll age myself. I was born in 1962. So I was in the perfect zone for Sid and Marty Krofft to completely absorb into my childhood. I mean, that was my Spielberg moment. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm talking to one of the Kroffts. Like, this is madness. And part of my fascination was the theme park. I remember Time Magazine did a big feature on it when it opened up. And there was a big full page spread with the shot of the giant escalator going up and the description and a photo of the pinball machine ride and the Lost Island boat ride and the Crystal Carousel. And I'm like, I need to get to this damn park. And then kaboom, it barely lasted, a season and a half with that?
Yeah. We had Marty, well, you heard it, I think. We had Marty and Sid on the old on the show that I did with Gilbert. Somebody said recently, I think it was Bruce Valanche who I was interviewing, that you, as you both well know, that Sid, who's still with us, bless his heart, Sid was the dreamer and Marty was the money guy. And Sid would say things like, okay, so we opened with 45 ice skaters. And Marty would say, 5 ice skaters.
That's 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they totally had the Walt and Roy Disney dynamic. Creative guy, who's going to pay for it guy.
There was a Sunshine Boys dynamic to them when we.
Oh my God! Yes, you called that
on,
perfectly.
The first indoor high-rise world of fantasy and fun was the tagline, and the escalator would bring you to the theme park. When you look at the YouTube videos about it now, it's so is ambitious the right word? To try to build a theme park inside of what is essentially an office building or an office complex?
Yeah, the problem was the vertical circulation. One of the big problems with the park was adapting to that space. There are indoor parks that work. I think the one we built in Abu Dhabi is quite good. But
yeah, we're going to ask you about that.
But that's all one floor. That's all ground level. The challenge here was they actually built it so it was sort of a forced spiral down from the top, which made like repeating attractions and going backwards difficult. It's one of the issues with it operationally. But yeah, it was a big, huge building, and they couldn't find a tenant for it. And this theme park goes in, and so good for them for trying. But it was when that part of Atlanta was not what it is now, and not particularly inviting to people.
Oh, they ran into all kinds of problems.
Yeah. It's my personal white whale, though. I grew up on the Krofft shows, 100%. Right, the Krofft Super Show on Saturday mornings.
Yep. Captain Cool and the Kongs.
Captain Cool and the Kongs, which is where you can see a lot of footage from the park. Actually, they did
That's
promos.
right.
with
They
them.
shot those. Yeah.
And the thing is, thank God for the internet, because I had been looking for footage for that, and then the DVDs came out in the mid '90s, and I'm like, they have to be on here, and I bought them, and some of it was. But now that you have YouTube, stuff just keeps coming out of the woodwork. There's that documentary that a guy made about it, little 10-minute documentary that has all this footage that I've never seen because he found it in a Atlanta news archive.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
wow.
and so, but when I was it opened in '76, right? So I was 6 years old.
Announced in '74, opened in '76. Yeah.
Yeah. And I begged my father to go see it, and he promised we would go, and started booking, tickets in a hotel, and it was for the month that it closed. So it was one of those things that was on my radar. I knew exactly what it was. I'd seen all of at what you could see back then, like on TV. And it didn't really advertise on the West Coast, so I was only seeing what was on the Super Show. But there's an article about it in like Time Magazine or whatever. And so I was upset. I am completely upset. Like, this is my white whale. I actually have been collecting stuff from it. Over COVID, I found a mint copy of the poster for the park.
Oh, that's great. What a get.
And I had Marty sign it before he passed, which was awesome. Brent,
fantastic.
that's because of Brent, Robert, when they were doing they were trying to get like a museum exhibit or a documentary about the two of them and doing oral histories with him. He invited me to their office, and I brought it, and very sheepishly, Marty was amazing. Like, we found out that I went to school with one of his daughters because I grew up in the Valley, and we found out that day. Like, it was very weird. But I did bring one thing here to show you guys. The listeners can't see it, but it's a ticket booth, opening day ticket booth. Sealed in resin.
Oh, we'll put that up on social media.
Ticket book, excuse me, and it's got Marty's signature there.
Oh my God,
that's
I'm
great.
super jealous.
And I just need to get Sid. So Sid, if you're listening, I love you.
Hurry up.
Yeah, I know. I love watching his Instagram stories, though. He does those live streams. They're really great.
They're great. I can connect you with Sid easily enough. He hangs out with the actress Beverly D'Angelo.
In
LA. They're buds.
Nice.
Eight floors, 5 unique lands. From an engineering and a design perspective, what is your take, both of you? You first, Robert, on the pinball ride. Which the funny thing is, you're watching these videos, and you're watching you're thinking, boy, this is ambitious and really creative, and you could credit to them for being so imaginative. But the wheels are coming off the entire time. The people in the office buildings are complaining about the pinball noises.
Yeah.
But the people in the hotel can't get to sleep. I mean, it's hilarious how many things went wrong from a design perspective. Tell me your take on the pinball ride.
Well, again, as you said, you have to give them credit for really thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
and I'm a huge pinball fan.
It looks cool as hell when you look at the.
Exactly. And, my little brain at the time, I was thinking it's like the Doom buggies, but as a silver ball, but you're not moving in this slow chain. It's this much more kind of, random movement or whatever. I mean, I would never judge anybody else's work unless I'd gotten to see it in person. So I have nothing negative to say. Yes, there were some noise abatement issues they didn't address.
Yes. And a lot of mechanical breakdowns, apparently.
Well, that's the thing too. And, I hope eventually when we get to Pacific Ocean Park, that's another park where they went nuts. I mean, people who just didn't think like traditional, because there weren't a lot of traditional ride designers.
Yes.
So they were just making it up as they went.
They're making it up as they went along. They were carny folk,
Exactly. And the dark rides there, they're spewing hydraulic fluid everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a mess, but oh my God, to be there when they were firing on all cylinders.
Pinball ride, there was only seconds of footage of it on the Krofft show. So that's all I ever saw as a kid.
Yeah.
So when that documentary came out about 5 years ago, it's got a good like 20 or 30 seconds. I analyzed that like the Zapruder film. Like it was
second Zapruder reference today. we had one at lunch.
It's like that. Seriously, I had been looking for that forever, and now that it's slowly like appearing, like as Robert said, it was kind of like an Omnimover, kind of like a Haunted Mansion Doom Buggy Omnimover, but going very fast and sort of bouncy because it twisted you back and forth. I was obsessed with the idea of shrinking down to pinball size and going through a ride. What a great idea!
It's a great idea.
But it wasn't the only mechanical problem with that park. Like one of the biggest ones was the carousel, was the crystal carousel.
Yes,
because
also ambitious.
They were super ambitious,
Yeah.
right? And what a great idea! Like
Beautiful.
light them up from underneath. I love it, right?
Yeah.
But they were made of like poured resin, so they all like the whole thing weighed like more than a 18-wheeler or a couple of them. Like. Yeah, evidently it had to, they had structural problems in the building and anyway, but I think the ambition was really high, but you were still in that part. Robert touched on this earlier, that the industry itself hadn't really matured a lot yet. Like, remember, Walt Disney World had only opened, 2 years prior to this?
Exactly.
3.
Yeah.
And so we weren't in that renaissance of like companies that just did this kind of engineering. They were still leaning on scenic companies and sometimes aerospace and things. So it was they bit off more than they can chew. But my God, thank goodness it happened, because it's such a curiosity.
Yeah, I'd much rather have an interesting failure than a boring success. And when it comes to technical problems too, like this 9-story escalator, like great idea, but guess what? When that thing breaks down, now you have to have people walk 90 feet upstairs to get into your park. Like, it's just like. No system works 100% of the time.
Well, so the entire park had a single point of failure, basically.
Exactly.
Those escalators.
Like, not a good place to have a point of failure. Yeah, you want to get people into your park.
There's a gag on The Simpsons called the escalator to nowhere, and you just see these people going up an escalator and going in the monorail episode. And I'm watching this thing, and I'm thinking, this escalator. I mean, the whole thing's like Sid's fever dream.
I heard a story about that escalator from my boss Phil, my old boss Phil Hadam from Universal, used to build like foam constructed puppets and costumes for them for some of the shows back in like the 70s. And he tells a story, and I think it was him, maybe it was somebody else, that when they were looking at the building as a possible place, they were touring the building with the developer, and they're going up that beautiful escalator, and it's like Sid and then the developer, and then Marty taking up the rear. And he basically says, Sid looks up and sees if you notice in the pictures, it's got this like white sort of cage, this beautiful sort of architectural structure around the escalator. Yeah. So it gives it kind of a ceiling plane and lighting and stuff. Sid goes, oh, wouldn't it be great when people come up here, we'll have clowns like up here handing people balloons hanging from these things above. It'll be really beautiful. Pause. Marty goes, if I see one effing clown on the opening day, they're fired. So, like, it's apocryphal. I don't know if it's exact. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist, and it so sums up their relationship so perfectly.
It sounds like it absolutely could be true. Only survived. You asked 5 months in all. The world of Sid and Marty Krofft. I mean, it was the neighborhood. It was the mechanical breakdowns. It was the complaints. It was the fact that there weren't enough rides. There weren't enough attractions. You got through the whole thing in 3 hours, and they were losing. According to my research, they were losing patrons to Disney World. Only one stayed away. Yep. Which just offered a lot more. There's a great line. Marty says we worked with the wrong people in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, that checks out.
That checks out.
Sort of sums it up.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, Frank here. Remember the British invasion? You know you do. When the U.S. went crazy for the music, the fashions, the spy films, and the sports cars from the U.K., and the coolest cats in Hollywood rode stylish, fast British motorbikes, well, the good news is that timeless style never really left. It just found a new home. BritishMotorcycleGear.com, based right here in New Jersey, offers motorcyclists a curated selection of high-quality touring, adventure, and classic-style jackets, pants, and accessories that reflect that iconic era, but with modern materials and protection. You'll look great on or off the bike in Belstaff, Merlin, and their own BMG brand gear. Stylish, safe, and built for today's ride. And you'll get personal one-on-one service from this small enthusiast-owned shop that served motorbike riders for over 30 years now. Available only online at BritishMotorcycleGear.com, where heritage meets the open road. Use the code FUN, that's F-U-N, at checkout for 10% off your purchase. That's BritishMotorcycleGear.com.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
And you gave me the perfect segue, Robert, because you did mention Pacific Ocean Park, which came to me late in my research. But my God, as amusement parks go, it looks like a paradise.
Well, as I may have mentioned, I got to go to that park when I was very, very young. I had sort of a big brother. My father died when I was very young, so my mom got one of those big brother types to, give me a good masculine influence. And he was the one who took me to Disneyland, and then he also took me to POP. And at that time, this would have been 67, 68. So the park was really on the way out. Most of the rides weren't operating. I do remember riding the Flying Fish, the little Wild Mouse coaster, but just looking around, and seeing the facade for the banana train ride. And,
that was the highlight, supposedly, the banana train.
That was the highlight. That was the big arrow train ride at the very end. I mean, so ambitious as a themed attraction. And some of the other dark rides. And like you were saying, Dave, this one haunts me. To be able to go back and really see everything that this park had in its best condition. If only.
Pacific Ocean Park. Come on and ride the roller coaster down at POP. Or bring the whole family down to POP. There's something fun for everyone at POP. Pacific Ocean Park. There's lots of rides and slides down at POP. And mom and dad and kids will all up POP. Come on and flip your little heads down at POP. Pacific Ocean Park. $1.91 is all that you pay for 40 kinds of fun, and you can play all day. It's really nice to pay one price at Pacific Ocean Park. So ride the ocean sky right down at POP. Or eat some cotton candy down at POP. There's something fun for everyone at POP. Pacific Ocean Park. Everybody's at Pacific Ocean Park. So come on down to Pacific Ocean Park. Everybody's at Pacific Ocean Park.
But I must recommend then the book by Chris Merritt and his partner, and I'm forgetting the other writer's name, but there's a fantastic, utterly comprehensive book about the history of POP. And anybody who's interested at all in that project, you should get the book. But yeah, I mean, here was a bunch of people, like the lead designer, a guy named Fred Harper, 30 years old. He came out of, I think, the CBS art department, and basically was like, here, make it happen. And, he created the beautiful entrance plaza with this amazing mid-century modern stylized octopus, which again, I reread. That building predated the LAX theme building. And if you try to tell me they weren't influenced by that POP structure, I'll call you a liar. I mean, it is very clearly.
Well, CBS was a partner in the park, so they brought they brought the best talent they had to offer.
Exactly.
At the time. But again, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like Disney, when he was building Disneyland, he's like, all his art directors from the studio, you guys come over here and help me make this theme park. And that's exactly what CBS did. Yeah.
I didn't get the book, sadly. I will, but there's not a ton of footage to be found. I mean, it was only in operation from 58 to 67.
Yeah.
9 short years where you snuck in. It looks like a blast. But again, the gondola is 75 feet above the ocean.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah, there was a sea circus with dolphins, a whirlpool ride, a centrifuge, a Mr. Squid's thrill ride. My God, they had a teen USA pageant hosted by Soupy Sales. It was like everything was going on in this place. But I'm guessing, Dave, from what you're alluding to, bit off a little more than they could chew.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a beautiful example of, again, sort of. It started pre-Disneyland or around the same time-ish, but that industry really didn't gel, and it's a reaction to Disneyland, but it's with the same people and techniques and location and sort of vibe of your typical amusement pier, right? Which is full of colorful characters in front of and behind the scenes, and that the one of the neat things about Pacific Ocean Park, in addition to being all the rides, was that it was this huge concert venue. This is something the book goes into pretty deeply because Dominic Priore, who co-wrote the book with Chris Merritt, it's called The Rise and Fall of LA's Space Age Nautical Pleasure Pier, and it's a fantastic book.
Great title.
The publisher actually put a bunch of music from the park that you can download and stream on their website too, by the way. It's amazing. I have it all on my iPod. It's when I drive to Santa Monica, I always
wonderful.
put it on.
We'll plug the book at the end. Remind me.
It's great. It's great. And the forward is by Brian Wilson. Like it's that ingrained in the music world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dominic Priore is
R.I.P. for that poor son of a gun.
Yeah. Recently, like Dominic Priore is an LA sort of rock historian and music historian, and so he had a lot of perspective on that place and footage and news and history about that place that maybe theme park people didn't have. So Chris partnered with him and they co-wrote it. So it's really accurate about the time period, not only from theme parks, but from music. And it's really quite good. I think I see pictures though of that gondola and it's over water.
Yeah. If you're a heights guy like me, it's your worst nightmare.
I mean, for some reason, I don't have that reaction to the old gondolas, the Skyway that used to be in Disneyland. For some reason, that doesn't terrify me, but the one over the water made by Carney people maybe is not the one that I would have liked going on.
Were they submerging people in the water in diving bells, Robert?
There was a diving bell attraction that they also happened to have at Astroworld in Coney Island. I guess somebody made these things, and it was very simple, just a big circular tub filled with water, and then in the center of that, a big circular diving bell with like little portholes around the edge, kind of like a little cylinder version of this Disneyland subs, so people could lean forward and put their head through this thing, and they would dunk you down into the water, and I guess there would be some little show elements, and then they would burst you back up. Everybody got the bends, so they'd pop you out of the water for a little thrill element.
And what was the banana train, which is described as a combination scenic railway and tiki bar, which fascinates me. And apparently this was the jewel in the crown.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, Aerodynamics, which was a big designer, a lot of the hardware for Disney. They did the Matterhorn bobsleds. I mean, most of the rides in the original Disney park, the Fantasyland vehicles, that was all engineered by Arrow. And so Arrow was brought on to do some of the attractions for this park, which, by the way, just getting back to Dave, what you were saying about how it has this kind of like ocean pier carny vibe. That's because, there were all those beautiful seaside piers in Southern California. Yeah. And there was this existing pier called Ocean Park that they used some of the existing assets. So the big wooden roller coaster and, some of the other pier elements. So they didn't draw this up from scratch. They were kind of retrofitting some of the original attractions. But the banana train was a completely unique thing. And it was very mid-60s, that kind of vibe. Very tiki, very exotica. Like if they didn't play Martin Denny 24/7 in the station, they missed out. But, there was a volcano, there was a rotating tunnel gag, there was a big spider. There was this mina bird or something that, said, "Thanks for coming" at the end. Just,
it's like the Disneyland train meets the Jungle Cruise and basically, and really culturally insensitive by today's standards. There's just no way you could ever do it or show it now.
I got a sense of that.
Yeah, but it's incredible. It's literally like give somebody who owns a tiki bar a train and tell them to make a great ride, and it's everything thrown at it. Like there's not a lot of film, but there's tons of photos of it, and it is just chock-a-block. It's everything in the kitchen sink that's tiki.
Let me. I'm going to go off the topic of Lost Parks just for a minute to ask you guys a question that my wife had, which I think is an interesting question. My wife Genevieve, she said, "I'd be curious to know which ride or attraction from a fan's perspective, not from a designer's or an artist's perspective, knocked their socks off." You each have one that just blew you away, either as a kid or as a professional.
Gosh,
Dave?
there are several.
Well, yeah, I mean, I probably have a couple different answers for that. As a kid, I would say it became the ride that blew me away as a kid became my personal like creative origin story, and that would be the Haunted Mansion.
Oh, wow.
And that's and that's just because as I saw it when I was 4. And it freaked me the hell out. And like in particular, there's one thing in particular. If remember, the hallway with like the wallpaper that looks like a Victorian flocking pattern, but if you look really closely, it's got these faces on it, these banshees. I had nightmares about that banshee like growing out of my wall when I was like 4 or 5 years old. But then at like 9 or 10, I discovered a book in the library about theatrical stage illusions and Pepper's Ghost, and the librarian was like, "Oh yeah, like the ghosts in the Haunted Mansion." I went, "Wait, what?" And so it demystified it for me, right? And then as an adult, the more I ride it, the more you realize it has this really arch sense of humor about death. It's like, hey, don't be scared. Come join the party in the graveyard, And so that it's not necessarily the fanciest or the flashiest, but it's the thing that hit me square between the eyes first that I can't stop revisiting and reanalyzing for the last 50 years.
Great answer. Can you believe they're still using Paul Frees's voice?
I know.
They're like, what is it, 40 years since he's gone?
I know. Well, and there's the guy that sounds just like him they use for Haunted Mansion Holiday, the Nightmare Before Christmas version. Corey Burton is his name.
Corey Burton, yeah.
And he does the perfect Paul Frees. Like he is absolutely spot on.
It's a great answer. And by the way, it's funny for a park like Disneyland and Disney World to be that the script does mock death and have fun with the idea of death. It's a very interesting creative choice.
Yeah.
Looking back, Robert, same question for you.
Gosh, that's a tough one. Well, I will say my Disney connection does start with the Matterhorn, because I remember very clearly when we were walking through this magical wonderland and I saw those little bobsled carts kind of running around, and it looked kind of slow to me. I thought it was like more like a train kind of an attraction. So I told Ken, my big brother, let's go ride that. He's like, okay. And apparently I just laughed like a maniac once we went over the top, because I was like, oh, look at this thing go. Like that was the beginning of my obsession with roller coasters in particular, but also like you can make a roller coaster look like a mountain, and the cars can be little bobsleds. Like when I was a kid and I'd ride roller coasters, I'd make up stories to go with them. Like I'm a fighter jet pilot, or I'm a spy in some new vehicle or something. But it was like in Disneyland, you didn't have to make up the stories. They were there for you. Like you can write the stories that other people can experience. So I guess in that regard,
that's great
that
answer.
That kind of really.
Did you ever do pre-78 Matterhorn?
Oh,
so
yeah.
you saw it before they finished the interior.
Oh yeah, you could see the basketball courts, all the wood structures, watching the buckets go through.
Yeah.
I still pretend I'm a fighter pilot sometimes, Robert. Is that immature?
No,
not at all.
Not at all. We get paid to do that. Like that's a job.
I want to ask you guys about some of these other parks that I wrote down based on pop culture properties. I guess they're called IPs these days. What do we know about Hanna-Barbera Land in North Houston, which lasted all of 2 years, 84 and 85?
It's a place for fun.
Introducing Hanna-Barbera Land.
A place for meeting, laughing, eating. A place for fun.
Hanna-Barbera Land, where you can have a ball, share a show, even see your name in lights.
A place for surfing, climbing, sharing. It's a place for fun.
Pick up your coupon at Safeway today for $1.50 off and a free Coke at Hanna-Barbera Land.
We know anything about that one?
All I know is I've seen pictures of.
It was turned into a water park eventually, into Splashtown, USA.
Yeah. I remember seeing photos of it, and it was like, I remember a walk through Flintstones Park. But it was just that. I don't remember anything else about the other parts of it. It was in Houston, you said?
Yeah, North Houston. Yeah.
Wow.
Just have one card on it, but it's interesting to me.
Yeah, well, there was that
designed as a
whole-
kids park, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. It became a Six Flags Hurricane Harbor splashdown. Right.
Yeah.
I remember, okay, so the parks like that, like regional ones, you sort of had, even though it was Hanna-Barbera and a big IP, they didn't really advertise those outside of that state or maybe like 2 or 3 states around it. So that's not one I learned about until much later, like as working actually probably for Paramount, since for a long time they had the Hanna-Barbera characters in their parks, and then Warner Brothers later. I remember in doing research and finding bits and pieces of this. I forgot they were all one park, but yeah, these were this is the theme park boomlet of the early 80s, when everybody was trying to turn their regional into something that was a destination.
Wasn't there a Hanna-Barbera ride in Universal Studios Florida? Wasn't there the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera?
It was a simulator ride. Yeah, it was a flight simulator ride that opened with original Universal Studios Florida in 1990.
What about
Which
the Land
was
of Oz?
really good, by the way.
Oh, it was?
Love
It was
that
good?
ride.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was
Super
great.
fun.
What
Yeah.
about the Land of Oz in North Carolina, which opened in 1970 to much fanfare with Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher cutting the opening ribbon?
13-year-old Carrie Fisher. Yeah, that blows my mind.
And they still open this place, I'm told, for special
Yeah.
occasions.
Yeah,
Like once a year, although they're
Yeah.
skipping this year,
But
unfortunately.
it kind of closed in 1980 officially as a theme park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically become a touch point for, super fans of the original movie, 39 movie, and the books, and so it becomes like almost a fan convention when they reopen it. That's who it draws now. It's not really, and it's, you know what, we call these things theme parks. It didn't really have any rides. It was more environments and landscaping and character appearances and maybe some food and beverage, but it wasn't traditional amusement park in the sense of like full attractions and rides and full shows.
Is there a distinction, because I'm learning this world, is there any distinction between theme park and amusement park?
Yes.
Oh, don't get us started.
Oh, is that a naive question? It sounds like it was.
No, because people in the general population confuse the two all the time. I mean, I don't know. I have a big issue. Like, too many places call themselves theme parks. They're not theme parks, but that's a whole.
The simple answer is a regional park that's mostly about coasters, even if it has a little bit of theming, is really an amusement park. A theme park is one where the destinations you go to in the parks have an intrinsic story or theme, like Disneyland. But even that definition gets a little squirrely, especially nowadays when like take a park like Knott's, right? Knott's Berry Farm started kind of as an amusement park, but nowadays with its own history and ghost town and even its little themed areas it can be called a theme park. It didn't start that way. So it is somewhat subjective. I would say from an industry perspective, it's not so much those two terms as you have regional parks and destination parks is really the bigger delineation
Separator
between the two.
I see.
Yeah. And, to that point, that's a really good point. Parks kind of move in and out of embracing very immersive theming and not. I mean, Magic Mountain, when it opened, was called a theme park. Sometimes they'll go in and really dress up a land and make it fully cohesive narratively.
Yeah.
Like as Dave was saying, it's like, if you go into a theme park, everything tells that story. The rides, the shows, the food and beverage, the architecture, the music, like it's all telling the same story rather than just a decorated ride, with pretty pictures and a nice logo or whatever. But yeah, Knott's is in the middle of like really kind of, they did a big redo of their Mexican Village area to try to make that feel more enriched and cohesive. So, it's leadership sometimes too. It's like if the corporate heads are like, we got to cut budgets, theming is the first thing that goes out the window.
One of the things you see when you're researching the demise of these parks, it's money 9 times out of 10. or some kind of shady deal like Freedomland, which we'll get into in a minute. But
that's the perfect example. Like they even said, like one of the investors, like this park's only here as a placeholder. Like,
I mean, it's nice to think of this industry as like, hey, let's make let my grandpa's got a barn, let's put on a show. It's not that at all. It's actually really driven by the global economy, and particularly by real estate and by what they call income qualified audience. Like within a certain radius of a place, is there an income qualified audience that can pay the ticket price that can reach a certain number of people per year? And that's why, like, you don't see a new theme park in the US every couple of years. With Epic just opened, and that was the first one in 25 years. So it's a weird industry because it's not driven by audience demand in really. It's driven by real estate demand and a larger forecasting of finance demand.
I'm learning learning so much.
And I was going to say, I mean, that was big part of the reason for the demise of so many parks that we lost in the 40s and 50s, is that the value of the real estate just became too great to use for other things like condos and malls.
Sure.
And so as soon as the park started waning with television coming in, it's like tear them down, build condos.
Freedomland seems a shining example of that, but we'll come back to it. I want to try a quiz out on you guys, on the two experts.
Okay.
If you'll indulge me. This was prepared by our social media director, Josh Chambers, who's here with us today in the Peanut Gallery. We're calling this, is it a real park or a fake park that we made up? And we're calling it, because we don't have a clever title, we're calling it Park or Poppycock. So there you go. Josh, they like
Works
the title.
For me.
Okay, first one up. And you can just you throw out your answers. Kiss World, a traveling amusement park based on the exploits of the Gene Simmons-led rock band, which never made it past the drawing board. Is that a park? Was that a park? A real conceived park, or poppycock?
I think that's a park.
I think it's a park.
Yep. Very good.
Yep.
See, Josh, hard to stump these two.
Well, and I got to say, the only reason I really know that is Brent Young is the biggest Kiss fan in the world, so he probably told me that.
It should have happened.
And they did. Kiss made a whole movie about that was shot at Magic Mountain. Kiss
Phantom
of the Park.
That's right.
Bless your heart. Okay, from the people who brought you Tennessee's historic Dollywood, it's Jerry Reed's 4x4 Fairy Tale Jamboree.
Poppycock.
Okay.
But I like the Jerry Reed.
I think we gave ourselves away. I think my laugh gave me away on that one. Okay, Here we go. Bonbon Land, or Bonbon Land, a Danish amusement park famous for its farting dog roller coaster.
Park.
Hey, you guys.
That's on my list. I've not been there, and I desperately want to go.
I've ridden the dog fart coaster.
You have ridden the dog fart coaster. Is there a diaper ride too? There's a pee-pee diaper ride or something?
Yeah. It's lots of. It's like your inner 6-year-old will find the whole place really funny.
Isn't there like a flume ride that's themed to sewer rats or something?
Where you ride in a little bathtub or a little like toilet or bathtub or something. Yeah.
My wife was in Copenhagen and she didn't go. Big loss. Okay. Ebenezer Floppin' Slopper's Wonderful Water Slides.
Poppycock.
Wait, say it.
Ebenezer Floppin' Slopper's Wonderful Water Slides.
Boy, that sounds like it could have been a dog patch attraction, but I'm going to... Well, you know what? I'll say park just to be different.
Robert has it. It is an abandoned water park located near an Illinois intersection, originally opened as a gravel pit.
Sounds delightful.
And it
for the whole family.
Shocker, yeah.
It existed from 1980 all the way to 1989. It is... Oh,
my God.
It is real. Okay.
Floppin' Slopper.
Ebenezer, you're free to wiki it. Ebenezer Floppin' Slopper's Wonderful Water Slides. I should say it as Johnny Carson's Art Fern character. Ebenezer Floppin' Slop. But
that's strong.
There you go. Okay. Wow. How about last but not least, Wilfred Brimley's Triple D Aqua Park.
Diabetes.
Diabetes. There was a diabetes ride, yes.
That's got to be Poppycock.
Poppycock.
Very good. Yes. Josh wrote a favorite destination for Montana cowboys looking for a big sky cool down. I think we only stumped you once. We stumped you on Ebenezer Flop and Slopper.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There are T-shirts of Ebenezer Flop and Slopper's wonderful water slide available on the internet right now.
Oh, listen, the guy's surfing the web as we speak.
Want it. I couldn't pass up looking for that. Sorry.
There was one last one I didn't read because I thought it was too obvious. But Yakov Smirnoff's Bransonwood.
That is Park. That's Park.
I think he made it up.
Well, Yakov Smirnoff does have a theater in Branson.
Josh.
Yeah.
We have a judge's call.
Yeah.
He's waving it off. That was fun. Thank you guys for indulging us.
That was brilliant. No, well created, man. Those were fun.
You acquitted yourselves well, although we stumped you with Ebenezer.
I think he'd stump anybody in the industry. It's like, there's no way that's real.
Here's a question from our pal Bennett Yellen, who helped set this interview up, and we'll thank Bennett. We'll thank him, and we love Bennett to death, and we'll thank Bennett at the end. If you two guys, and I'm sure you've been asked this, but we're going to do it again. If you guys had a time machine, which park would you visit? Any place, any era? Dave.
World of Sid and Marty Krofft.
He didn't even hesitate.
Final answer.
There you go. Even though it's like only 3 hours to go through and most of it's a puppet show?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No question.
Okay.
No question.
Okay, look at that. This man is a loyalist. And Robert?
There you go. You know, I got to say, to go back to Coney Island, when Steeplechase, Dreamland, and Luna Park were all operating at their peak, that's my first stop. Yeah.
That's great.
POP would be a very close second. But
yeah.
And
that would be very close second for me.
Not any World's Fairs in the 19th century.
Those aren't theme parks.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
a different question.
I'm sorry.
True.
I apologize.
That is true. Although
They're related.
I
I mean, the impulse is right. They're related, but that would be a different category. If I have a time machine, I would want to have, one theme park to pick from and one World Fair to pick from, maybe. But
I think Sid would be deeply honored by your answer, Dave.
All right. Well, Dave, I have to ask, if you had which World's Fair, first one, where would you?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, the easy one would be the unofficial one, 64, 65.
I was at the 64 World's Fair.
Oh,
were you?
You were.
I was all of 3.
Fantastic.
I don't have a lot. There's some Super 8 footage somewhere. In my family's possession, but I really don't remember much about it. But of course, there were remnants still standing. The Unisphere is still standing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That weird helicopter.
And featured in Men in Black.
Parachute
Yeah,
ride
exactly.
thing.
The towers. The towers.
Yeah, the towers are still standing.
The 39 would probably be the one I'd pick, though, because that was such a turning point, really.
Okay.
These are good answers. Bennett, I hope you got your question answered. Going back to Freedomland, and again, this was the most fascinating amount of research that I did because it was right here in the Bronx. I mean, not terribly far from where we're recording this. I mean, and it closed in 64. But tell us a little bit, Robert, about C.V. Wood, who was the master planner of Disneyland, who was behind this thing. I don't want to call it a fiasco, but... that wouldn't be unfair.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his fault. So yeah, C.V. Wood was the actual first employee of Disneyland. Walt and Roy hired him and made him the general manager to get the park built. And he did. He used tactics and methods that Walt was not super crazy about. And as soon as Disneyland opened, they fired him and removed him from all corporate histories. And Todd James Pierce, who was an amazing Disney historian and writer and podcaster, he wrote a book a few years ago called 3 Years in Wonderland, which really details how Disneyland got to happen. And by the way, folks, we were this close to it not happening. I mean, it was a disaster right up through opening day.
Interesting.
But Wood got it built. So anyway, once he leaves or once he's ousted from Disney, he started his own company to do theme park and complex, developments. And Freedomland was one of the first big projects right after. And, it was a very ambitious idea. One of the real issues with it was they wanted to make it in the shape of the contiguous, 48 states.
Yeah.
Which is...
We keep coming back to that word ambitious.
Yeah. Clever, but it's so constraining. And how is the guest who is not in a drone or an airplane going to appreciate that? It's such a
Master plans aren't used from the air. Like it only makes sense for marketing. It doesn't actually have any practical use whatsoever,
Exactly. And of course, back then we didn't know, but now we know every park needs to have huge expansion pads. Like you have to build that into your long-term planning. So you can't fence yourself into some weird arbitrary shape. But there were a million other reasons the park didn't do so well. But, there were a lot of very innovative attractions and several that moved on to other parks.
Yeah.
Like there were several dark rides. One ended up at Cedar Point. A lot of Arrow Development also designed attractions for the park. So again, they tried, and they also kind of brought back one of the early show attractions in Coney Island. Was this kind of big firefighting show. We'd have this arena and burning buildings, and the firemen would come out with their hoses.
They were recreating the Great Chicago Fire.
That was part of it. Yeah. So, and they brought that show back, that kind of firefighter show for Freedomland, which was kind of an interesting throwback to, way back in the day.
Here at Freedomland, they have the Chicago Fire every half hour, every day. And the gas flames behind the windows of those fireproof buildings always go out on schedule. But it's lots of fun because it's make-believe. In Chicago, in 1871, they didn't have fireproof buildings, and the big fire was an important event in American history, brought to life at Freedomland.
But again, it was built on very weird, swampy ground. And, everybody was eyeing it for real estate development down the road anyway. So poor CV and his team, I think Barco Engineering was the name of the company.
Did they pull the rug out from under CV? I mean, it's basically, if you do the research and you go to wonderful defunct land and these other places that are talking about it, and by the way, that site is a rabbit hole.
Fantastic.
And it's just fantastic. And we'll plug that at the end too. Was it? Do we know this for a fact that it was kind of a scheme from the beginning?
I don't know how. Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that it's debated, but
it's debated
that the housing developments, the initial planning for the housing developments started before the park,
Co-op City, which it is now, yeah,
which it is now, and the idea was if certain buildings on the site could stand for at least 5 years without sinking into what was basically marshland, they could forego a lot of the testing and sort of ecological testing of the area to get the permits. That's the rumor.
Okay.
And that the entire park was like literally meant to fail in 5 years. But I don't think that's ever been shown as proof, but there's lots of weird coincidences about the development of Co-op City that point towards that.
Well, as William Zeckendorf supposedly said as much in an interview. Which is
really?
which I guess is somebody did, which is the so-called smoking gun. But let's talk about the lands. There was Old Chicago, San Francisco, New Orleans, where Mardi Gras was happening constantly, the Old Southwest, the Great Plains, Little Old New York, and the future was represented by Satellite City.
Yeah,
and such invention, such creation.
You watch Chicago burn every 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is some attractions in questionable taste. They also recreated the 1906 earthquake that killed 3,000 people. But okay.
Yeah. And then there was a tornado.
Yeah, there was a tornado.
Was a natural and man-made disaster park.
No Donner Party ride, disappointingly.
That was the cafeteria.
But and name entertainment too in the park. Louis Armstrong, Benny Goodman. The Three Stooges. I mean, there was they bit off a lot again, and it boggles the mind that everybody was doing this, and C.V. Wood and all of this talent involved, not knowing that there was a scheme afoot, that something was rotten in the state of Denmark, and I don't mean the farting roller coaster. the entire time, it's kind of shocking. Looking back on it,
it was a little cursed. I mean, from what I understand,
why go to such great lengths if you're testing this? Why not open a smaller park or something less imaginative and less ambitious?
Well, I think a few years later, you got Great Adventure in New Jersey, right? Like that opened in the early 70s. So I think there was a reaction to that, and it was more the carbon copy, cookie cutter regional park model rather than Freedomland was trying to be this destination. I don't think anything there was particularly repeatable, though, right? It was very much like the kind of thing you might do once a year, other than the entertainment, right? What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little kind of odd. Like it was supposed to be America, but it was very like Southwest and prairie themed. Like it was very old West.
Educate and entertain. That was supposed to be
and most of it was
statement.
It was like 1850s to the turn of the century. Like it was very rooted in the past. So it was almost like Frontierland, but a whole park, except for the satellite city.
Right.
So it was an odd mix. Look, and I will always appreciate a park that opens with multiple dark rides. So big thumbs up for that. Yeah. But it was an odd attractions mix. And I think
they built it as bigger and better than Disneyland, the world's biggest entertainment center. And it was it was not.
No, it was not. And this is a lesson developers keep learning over and over again. Every time I read like, oh, this is going to be blank's Disneyland, I'm like, the park's going to suck. Like every single time they make that claim, there will never be a better Disneyland. That's never going to be. So, but promotion is what it is. You got to hype it somehow. And you're all the way here on the East Coast. Disneyland's really far away, so they thought they could get away with it. I
mean, there's a certain amount of, American gusto behind things like this. Like, let's just build it just because. But this goes back to what I said earlier, where nowadays this industry isn't, and love it or hate it, it's built by forecasting. It's the same reason we get the same 6 movies every year with different names. Mm-hmm. But when it's brick and mortar like this, it's an even higher risk. So the people that are behind these things now, you're never going to see parks like this again. You're never going to see an experiment like Dogpatch, like the World of Cinematic Krofft, just because it has to not only go through audience focus testing to the nth degree, but also it can the area we're putting in sustain it. It's why when I look at new parks like Epic Universe, which is incredible, it's a miracle that thing happened, and I'm glad it did.
Where's that park, Epic? The one you speak of?
It's Universal's 4th theme park in Orlando. That just opened about a month ago, and it's spectacular.
And I spoke to you both about the park in the Disney park in Japan, the water park.
Tokyo Disney Sea.
Tokyo Disney Sea. Yeah. You both
themed to water, not like a traditional water park with water slides.
Right.
It's
themed water park. Yeah.
So,
I watched the Imagineering documentary on Disney Plus, and
it's incredible.
It looks incredible.
It's incredible. That's because Disney doesn't really own it. I mean, they it's owned by a local business entity that they were one of the first international Disney parks. And Tokyo Disneyland was such a success that they got to do the second one. And one of the reasons it's a success is the merchandise and what they call per cap spending, because in the States, the average per cap in things like merchandise as a park in the U.S. is $20 or $30. In Japan, it's like 150. And the reason for that is it's a culture. I forget the Japanese word for it, but it's a gift-giving culture where, hey, if I go to a theme park on the weekend, when I go back to my office job, I'm going to have little teeny gifts like, Sanrio style pencils or notepads or candy to give to all of my friends and family. It's just intrinsic in the culture, that sort of small gift-giving culture. That little bit of merchandise sales adds up. And so literally that audience buys more than any other audience in the world. And that's why those Japan parks happen.
That is interesting.
And, because Tokyo Disneyland was such a success, when they came back to the Imagineers and said, look, we want a second gate.
Yeah.
And they were like, do whatever you want. We don't care what it costs.
Just a blank check,
bankroll everything. And that's what they got. I mean,
they actually pitched a studio park like Disney Hollywood Studios in Orlando at first. It was still pretty ambitious and high budget. And OLC, the Oriental Land Company, the company that owns and operates it, said, nope, not good enough. Something bigger. Money's no limit. And when you look at Tokyo Disney Sea, money is not, there's no limit. Like that thing is incredible. The art directors won every argument they could possibly get in for that park. Yeah. And it's better for it.
I hope to get to see it one day.
You really will. And by the way, too, I looked at conservatively 100,000 pictures of that park before I went in. And when I walked through the Portofino Hotel, blown away. Like when you see it in person, you cannot believe it's real.
How about
it's
that?
so stunning.
Just a couple of more. These were also things featured in Freedomland. There was a Pirates of the Caribbean ride using early animatronics. There was an authentic recreation of the Cape Canaveral control room. There was a simulated rocket journey. There was a nightly fireworks show. Again, a lot of trouble to go through for a park that's kind of pre-doomed. Tell me this too, Robert. I went to your site. I was on the Thrill Ride site, and you listed some attractions, some IPs that never got, as Red Buttons would say, never got a dinner, that never got a park. And it's your want list.
Right.
Of dream projects that you would like to design or that you feel should exist. Like there was a Godzilla one.
Yeah. So this is before I got into the industry, and I thought, you know what? I've been thinking about rides all my life. Why not just make up some? And so I did some just design studies, and I'm a huge Godzilla fan. So, excuse me, went right to, creating a dark ride roller coaster. But, there are Godzilla attractions now, like they're building them in Japan. There's some sort of a ride.
I think we're in a Godzilla anniversary actually this year.
Oh,
really?
Yes. Did we pass?
Did we pass it?
55.
Something.
So yeah, this is 70.
It
yeah,
might
like
be
Disney
70.
Land.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The first Godzilla is 54.
Okay, I'm a year
Last
off.
year. Okay, sorry. Yeah, hang my head in shame. But when it comes to IP that has not yet been exploited, the one I'm still, if I ever get the chance to pitch it, is Tracy Island. I was a giant Thunderbirds geek growing up.
Thunderbirds, a Thunderbirds reference.
A Thunderbirds area. You could build the island, and each one of the Thunderbird vehicles has its own attraction. You'd have the little Thunderbird or the submarine thing, and then the rocket, and then you could have the International Space Station tour. But just do it all in that mid-century 60s vibe, and every character and everything is a marionette. Like that would be unnegotiable. Unnegotiable.
Sid Krofft would love you for that.
There you go.
Yeah. Dave, same question. Any IP, I know you're a Tron guy.
Yeah.
By the way, bless your heart for saying you were a fan of Larry Cohen's The Stuff. Which is having its 40th anniversary this year, and
God, I love that
only
movie
I would
so
know
much.
that, and maybe you.
All Larry Cohen films.
We had Larry on the podcast. I'm going to send you.
Oh my God!
I'm going to send you the link. A wonderful, larger than life character.
I loved that movie.
By the way, but same question. Any IP, if somebody wrote you a blank check, and ideally one that doesn't exist.
Right. Obviously, I'm a Tron super fan, but we got our Tron ride, so that's fine.
You got the Tron ride. You want the Stuff ride, the Larry Cohen experience?
There's sort of, I'm going to give a two-sided answer. On one hand, the other thing that I'm obsessed with because I imprinted on it as a kid is the original Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder.
Oh, and it's playing here on the big screen this month.
Yeah. I imprinted on the fact that he was, this dandy fop with who could deliver devastating shade. I aspired to be that, and the darkness of it and the scariness of it, and like there's just so much about that movie that is just deep in my soul. I actually have a tattoo of a everlasting gobstopper.
He does.
Nice.
He's holding it up to the camera.
Yeah, and so that would be my childhood answer, most likely. It has to be the original movie. It can't be some reinterpretation from the books. It can't be the modern Johnny Depp reboot. It's got to be the original. If it's I'll go.
So you want to build a Wonka Land, original Wonka Land, Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Vintage Wonka Land, what? Entire park or just a ride, just a attraction?
I would say it's a land.
It's a land.
I would say it's a land. You walk through the gates, and it's a main boat ride. It's possibly some other thrill rides and spinny rides. It's probably a cafe and a candy shop and all that kind of stuff. Like he's finally opened up. Like, and it's you would modernize it, like you say. Maybe Charlie owns it now. It's years later or something. Sure, but it has to be the look and feel of that '72 movie for me.
But
from a broader perspective,
Robert fully endorses this.
Yeah, right. From a broader perspective, that's a lot more freeing because you're not tied to that specific one. Would be, I think it's a crime that we have not seen anything based on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume it's the Tolkien family. It's a challenging brand to deal with. And then you also have, can it be based on the movies? Probably not. Can it be based on the Amazon series? Probably not. So it would be its own interpretation of it. Maybe with the success of all their Harry Potter lands, maybe Warner Brothers could put those somewhere in the world, but they don't own and operate parks. They just license the IP to people. But Lord of the Rings as a world, and The Hobbit for that matter, as a world would be an interesting land. It's funny. People say like, oh, do a whole theme park of that. Why didn't they do a whole theme park of Star Wars? And I'm like, when you really start counting on what are the things you can do in the Star Wars world, it's not 25 or 30 different rides, right? I'll die on this hill that it's like,
okay,
you can't, it's a theme park has to be a good meal, and it can't all be steak, right? You can't have a steak appetizer and a steak entree and a steak dessert and a steak cocktail. It's got to be different. And so the idea of one large park that's one IP, yes, it's a big IP and it's a big world, but the activities you do in those things that need to translate into attractions, it starts to get small when you have the aspirational things that you want to do in that world, you know? And so I'm a firm believer that like constraint is good in this business, and Robert will probably agree with me that it's easy to think of blue sky as, hey, we can do anything, it's blank check, but it's also nice to know what box you're filling, and for me to say, all right, you have a land to do Lord of the Rings with, 4 attractions, great. I'd rather do that than try to spread it thin over an entire park.
Well, who doesn't want to go to Lord of the Rings land and Wonka land now and see, and ride Robert's Godzilla ride?
This is Robert and Dave's new theme park. Yeah, Geekville.
Yeah,
it's going to be called Geekville.
Somebody needs to write you guys a check.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Frank. Speak that a little louder.
This is a topic we could go on, and I'll have you guys back if you're willing to come back.
Absolutely.
Another time, because we didn't get to Petticoat Junction amusement park. We didn't get to we didn't get to Dog Patch, the USA, the Al Cap Park, and some of these other odd ones. Magic World, which you told me about, Robert, and Pigeon Forge, which I looked up, which had a 100-foot volcano with an 80-foot freshwater aquarium. But there's so much to cover next time. But I want to know, before we get out of here, from the roller coaster expert, Robert, top 3 roller coasters.
Well, okay, I'm going to qualify
putting
this
you on the
because,
spot. And I don't ride them, by the way, but I'll tell my wife.
Sure. I mean, there are different kinds of roller coasters, and there are roller coasters designed to appeal to very specific audiences. So, for me, as a purely emotionally satisfying experience, Disneyland Space Mountain with that onboard audio, incomparable.
Great.
Like, I just love it. I just rewrote it again a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it just, when the speakers are really booming and you're just, it brings me to tears. I don't know why. Being a outer space science fiction guy, like, again, I didn't have to imagine I'm riding a rocket ship. I'm riding a rocket ship through outer space. And to this stunningly beautiful Michael Giacchino score. And they brilliantly calibrate, the speed of the train with the music. So there are these built-in flourishes in the music that can be lengthened or shortened so that when you hit that next turn, you're hitting the musical beat at exactly the right time. It's just brilliant. But in terms of raw thrills, I got to say, there's a wooden roller coaster at Holiday World called The Voyage. And it is it does everything except go upside down.
Where's this one now? Say again.
So there's a park in Indiana called Holiday World, which is arguably the world's first theme park. That also gets a little muddy, but started as one of these Santa Claus villages that were very, popular around the country, and then eventually started adding other themed areas, including Halloween. And then they opened a Thanksgiving section. And it was a pretty clever way to theme a roller coaster to Thanksgiving by making it about the Pilgrim's Voyage. Tenuous, but whatever. But it's just huge opening run with giant airtime hills, and then spiraling in the woods, and then diving underground for this. There's an underground triple dip, which at night will change you as a human. It's phenomenal. So good. And then everything else, I'm like, I just tell people there are so many different kinds of roller coasters. Ride them all, find the one you like. That's your favorite. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else.
Yeah.
Is there room in your fantasy for the Violet Beauregard coaster that Dave is sketching as we speak, or is it the Uncle Joe?
You're right in a bed.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to squeeze in next to 3 old people just to ride it. Very, very detailed. Yeah. Listen, whatever Dave is going to do for the Willy, I fully.
You're on board.
You're unseen.
You're hired.
I'm there. I'm ready.
Dave, you said something on a podcast that I listened to, and it touched me that you one of the most gratifying things, and I'm sure Robert has experienced this as well. One of the most gratifying things about your line of work is when you go to a park and you don't identify yourself to the fans and to the riders, but you watch them experience it.
Yeah. It's when we build these things. First of all, in a 30-year career, the amount of things I've actually built versus the things we've imagined and written and created.
What's the ratio?
Is staggering. It's a 10,000 to 1.
Okay.
Like it's incredible. Like this industry is very speculative, and I've done a lot of creative work over 30 years and built one giant theme park with 28 rides in it, and Men in Black, and a handful of other attractions around the world. But it's not a lot, and so. We live with these things for so long, and so when they do get made, that is a long gestation process and a long, complicated production. It's yours. Like everybody, when you have a team involved in this, it's a labor of love, and everybody identifies with it and imprints on it, and it's your thing, right? There's a moment in this process where it's not mine anymore. And it has to happen. And sometimes that's painful because it's operations sort of ripping the keys away from you, and the security guard doesn't know your face anymore, and you don't have your access badge. But I mean more from an emotional level. And that is when I walk into an attraction that we've finished and is open, I'll sit by the exit and I'll just listen to people coming out talking about it.
How nice.
And it's an education, and it's a catharsis, and it's moving, and it's humbling because sometimes stuff doesn't work, and it's not an industry that celebrates its artisans and creators the same way movies and TV do, though it's equally as collaborative and multidisciplinary. So we're kind of anonymous, and that's not good or bad. I appreciate that the work stands for itself, and I think that there's a moment when I see someone's reaction to something where I know that they've built an emotional ownership in their heart, and that they're going to go see this thing for the rest of their lives.
That's nice.
And it's going to be a thing they pass down to their family and to their kids and tell stories about. That's
it's
incredible.
a family bonding thing too.
It's incredible. We never know when that's going to happen. And when it does, that's the moment that I go, all right, I'm done.
That's why we sweat the bullets. Yeah.
That's why you sweat the bullets. But you realize you've chosen wisely.
It's
got to be rewarding.
Lucky.
Same thing, Robert. Very. You must have had that experience.
Yeah. So the first attraction that I was kind of a lead creative on that opened was the Forbidden Caves, this immersion tunnel in Belgium. And so that was the first time I went over and met my friend in London, and we rented a car and I drove over and got to, just like you were saying, Dave, just sit there anonymously and experience it. And there's a pre-show with a live performer who's kind of setting up the story, but it was all in Dutch. And so I'm hearing this random thing, but listening to the audience, like laughing and then, ooh, and like, oh, like they were really getting into it. And I'm like, oh my God, pinch me. I died on the operating table. Yeah,
it's a drug.
It is. It is very, very addictive.
How nice.
Very addictive. But to Dave's point too, like, not everything, there's so many people involved in building these kinds of things. And they bring so much to the table. And like at some point it's like, okay, I've kind of teed it up, but now it's just going to come to life thanks to all these other people, and decisions are going to get made. And
they're your babies.
Whatever.
It's like the way filmmakers talk about when they're always asked, "What's your favorite film?" and they always have a hard time answering it because they're all children.
Yep.
Yeah, so congratulations to both of you guys. Thanks for the entertainment.
Oh, thank you, man.
It's just a pleasure to be here.
And not just for today. I'm going to leave you with a very bizarre piece of trivia before we do the plugs. I was talking about the Sid and Marty coaster, the Crystal Carousel, to my friend Barry Greenberg, who's a talent booker, and he said, the actor who played Grizzly Adams, Dan Haggerty, acquired the animals in the Crystal Carousel and kept them in his garage.
What?
Look at Dave's.
Where are they now?
Dave's face. Well, he
I
passed.
never heard that.
He passed away. I mean, if you want to find these things that are made of unimpressive resin that were
just, it's impressive. It's just heavy.
Sitting.
Yeah, how did he get them out of there?
Sitting in his garage. He said at least 2 or 3 of the animals.
My
goodness!
I had to bring it up because it's so bizarre. And I'll connect you to Barry. Maybe there's
I would
more
love
of a
to know
story.
what became of them. I mean, so little of that park exists. I actually took a tour of the CNN studios that are there now with a friend about 4 or 5 years ago. And he knew my love of the park, and he took me into a back storage room with a flashlight and pointed up to a corner of the room. And there was a bit of mural that was still behind.
Still on the wall.
That's great.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Theme park archaeology.
Yeah, totally.
Let's plug Robert's roller coaster book, Roller Coasters, A Thrill Seeker's Guide to the Ultimate Scream Machines. Robert, you know I love your YouTube page where you visit not only parks and attractions, but you visit cool stores like the Galco Soda Store, which is near and dear to my heart in California, and also movie sets and museums and other interesting places. That is also a rabbit hole to go down.
Thank you so much.
And plug the Ocean Park book. The Pacific Ocean Park book.
So again, it's Pacific Ocean Park by Chris Merritt and Dominique Fiore.
Chris Merritt?
Merritt
and Dominic Priori.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris is a former Imagineer and California theme park historian.
Okay, we like to give the listeners a reading list.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, and let me just, to piggyback on the music history. So at Pacific Ocean Park, there was this bizarre suspended dark ride called the Magic Carpet, a la Peter Pan at Disneyland. That attraction ended up at Magic World in Pigeon Forge. And I was like, wait, there's that Magic Carpet ride. What? Huh? So I thought there may have been multiple, but maybe that's the only one. But I also read on a music website that apparently the bass player of Steppenwolf used to go to POP loved the Magic Carpet Ride, and that was the basis of their song Magic Carpet Ride.
What?
You're blowing me away. Stop it.
Now, that's third. I don't know how legit that is, but
that's incredible.
I love that.
What is the origin behind Wilfred Brimley's I can't even get
Can't even get it out.
I threw the page away. The triple.
What, the diabetes?
The diabetes park. Yeah, the diabetes water park. What was it, Josh? The Triple D water park.
The Triple D. Yeah.
Is there a secret origin behind that park?
Each one of the attractions is based on one of the movies. So there's like a cocoon ride,
right. There's a firm ride.
They only serve oatmeal. Nuts. That's the only thing. Everything is oatmeal based in all of the restaurants.
That is see. But somebody write this down. Somebody should be taking notes. I'm going to recommend this book, this wonderful book, Robert, that you told me about, Steven Silverman's book. Called The Amusement Park.
That's another
400 pages. I mean, this guy, the fact that he spent so much of his life doing this work, this is the Lord's work putting that book together.
It really is.
And individual projects that you guys can talk about, Dave? Anything?
And we'll nothing that I'm working on now.
Send people to the Men in Black ride.
Well, yeah, Men in Black just celebrated its 25th anniversary at Universal Orlando. I know, right, Robert? I know. I feel old, but it's got a huge fan club on Facebook with like 10,000 members. The very few attractions get to that age, especially at a park like Universal where they're sort of reinventing themselves every couple of years. So I'm super grateful it's still there. I don't work for Universal anymore, but if you're down there in Orlando,
tell them Dave Cobb
one of their crown jewels. Yeah, Dave Cobb. Tell them. Yeah, they like who? Who's that? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
I'm sure you're proud of it, and you have reason to be. Robert, same question.
Well,
anything coming up? Can you talk about it in coded language, or should we just direct people to your YouTube page?
Sure. So again, Super 78, we were kind of the lead creatives for this new Mattel Adventure Park.
Yeah. They're
undergoing some delays. The park was supposed to open a little sooner than it has, so it's under construction. I hope when that opens, I'd urge you all to go. We had a ton of fun. And there are some really fun attractions based on Mattel toys.
Has the mega success of the Barbie movie help propel this park forward? Are they not connected?
No, well, it's
based on the toy, not the movie, so
correct.
It's based on the toy.
It looks like he has to kill me to tell me the answer, so I'm
Well,
not going to. I'm not going to press on.
I have a pin on my backpack when I travel that says all my best work is under NDA. So it's just so people know, like I just can't, but folks can go to davecobb.com if they want to find all my other podcasts and links to work and my YouTube channel too, and Blue Sky and all that stuff.
And listen to Robert's podcast too.
Oh, yeah. And first of all, it's not mine. Doug Barnes.
Season
He's
Pass.
the man.
Season Pass. You and Doug.
But one more quick plug. So I did create a little line of T-shirts.
What does that say? Dr. Hackenslash's Asylum of Terror. Are you selling those?
One of them. I am.
Oh,
so
good.
I had this crazy idea to do a line of T-shirts based on fictional parks that don't exist, but that were like if parks in the 20s, 30s, and 40s and 50s could have done souvenir T-shirts the way we do today.
This is genius.
So thank you.
But where do we find them on your website?
Go to thrillrags.com.
Thrill Rags.
RAGS. Thrillrags.com.
We're going to move some product, buddy.
I would be very grateful.
Thrill
So
Rags.
this is my favorite, and it was kind of based on those like midnight spook show posters from the 50s.
Oh yeah,
I love Dr. Groucho played a character called Dr. Hackenbush, not Dr. Hackenslash. But close enough. What a great idea to do T-shirts based on defunct rides and attractions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Inspired.
Well, it's print on demand, man. It just makes it so viable now.
Well, I told Bennett, our mutual friend Bennett Yellen, who wrote Dumb and Dumber with the Farrellys and has done wonderful.
Genius.
Is a genius in his own right. I said I want to do a show about amusement parks. This is something that's fascinated me for a long time, particularly defunct ones and lost ones. And he said, "Got the two guys for you. I'll call them right now." And this episode came together in about 12 hours. So not the research part, just the booking part. But I have to thank you guys for entertaining, as I said, the masses, but also me and our listeners. This has really been, you should pardon the expression, a great ride.
Thank you so much. It's been great to be here. Glad to come back anytime.
And we'll tell people it's summertime. Get out to the parks.
Get out, absolutely.
Right?
Now's the time to go.
Get your stuff. Get your family. Get out there. See the new stuff. Thank you both. Thank you to Bennett Yellen, as I said. Thank you to Andrew Capone and Bobby Hutch and Josh Chambers and Dino Proserpio, who are here with us. Our friend Stephen Toll here at City Vox Studios, Michelle Mantin, John Seals, and the whole Hee Haw gang. I hope you guys will come back down the line and we'll talk more about the things that we didn't get to.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Anytime. This was such a blast. I knew it was going to be.
Oh, you guys are great. Thank you so much.
Guests of Fun for All Ages stay at the Omni, a pinball's throw away from the Lidsville Theater. Fun for All Ages is produced by Frank Santopadre, Genevieve Sturbens, and Andrew Capone. Post-production supervisor Bobby Hutch. Social media director Josh Chambers. Music by MIBE and Pete Sapino. FFAA social media team, Michelle Mantinen, Dino Proserpio, and John Bradley Seals. Logo design by John Tesler. Support us on Patreon at Patreon.com/Fun for All Ages Podcast. I'm your announcer, Josh Chambers.